Hey, I'm Hannah Grace Hall. Welcome to the Middle of the Story podcast, where we have raw, unfiltered, faith-filled conversations on God meeting us in the middle of our stories. Grab a cup of coffee and join us. Hey guys, I'm Hannah Grace Hall. Welcome to the Middle of the Story podcast. Today on the pod, we're having the love of my life, my very best friend, the best interview. I actually don't know if it's going to be the best interview. We haven't started it yet, but the best person I know, my just favorite human being, all the lovey-dovey things, my husband, Adam Hall. Today we're going to talk about what it's like being a believer and an addict, how to come out of addiction, how to walk out a faith-filled life free of shame, and what it looks like to live on mission for the gospel. So excited for you guys to be here with us. So excited for you to be here with me. My bestie, love of my life, handsome man.
I'm nervous.
Oh, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. I think it's like I have to remind myself to take deep breaths.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can breathe, just not too heavy into the mic.
Deal, I won't. Jeff can edit it.
Okay, well, we're gonna start. This is how I start with basically everybody.
Okay.
Can you tell me a little bit about what your story is with the Lord, meeting Jesus, committing your life to Him? Tell us about your beginning with Jesus.
Yeah, so, beginning with Jesus. So I grew up in a house that loved God. We went to church every Sunday. It wasn't like a Christmas and Easter thing. It was every Sunday we were there. That was the priority. Youth group on Wednesday nights, all of that. I think it's like a pretty normal upbringing in the South. So I always knew who God was, like growing up. I think, in high school is when it became really real to me. Like I got involved in a small group. There was a particular choir trip we did, which is when I would say I was like saved and like really, really met the Lord for the first time. So grew up around it, grew up in it. Junior year of high school, that summer is when it became personal and real to me. Obviously not without struggle since then, which I know we'll talk a lot about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up around it, saw it modeled. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Did you have a watershed moment, or was it just like those seeds that had been planted and watered your whole life just really like grew into that fruit of I want to make this my commitment. I want to have a relationship with Jesus. I want Him in my heart.
Yeah. I was thinking about that like as in preparation for us talking about this. And I don't really remember like what it was that was said, but I can remember we were in this like monastery. So our church choir would do these trips, and it was like the last night on the way back home. We stayed at, I think it was like a monastery in Kentucky. And I just remember being in like the chapel there, and we like had a worship service, and I remember grabbing the youth pastor afterwards and just being like, "Hey, like I need this," and like I was always kind of like the model kid, like I was always like the good kid.
Yeah.
Didn't get in trouble. I think people kind of just assume like, oh, everything's fine with Adam, and there's obviously a whole world of secret sin and things going on that no one knew about.
Yeah.
And I was even trying to remember if I told him at that time that like I was struggling with porn.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I distinctly remember that being the time of like, hey, I got to go grab the youth pastor and talk to him and like to give myself and my life over to God.
Yeah.
So that was definitely like a distinct moment. That was a watershed moment for me in terms of I can distinctly look back and be like, I encountered the Lord here. But I don't remember like what it was that was said. I don't remember even what I said to him.
Yeah. So you just mentioned having like secrecy, some sin issues, and like that leading up to the like moment of committing your life to Jesus. Tell us a little bit about that. Like what, and you just said porn. So like, and I'm trying not to like give off your story. Obviously I know your story very, very well. So like tell if, whoever's listening, hopefully it's like one person, or tell Jeff.
Yeah.
We love Jeff. Like how did you get exposed to porn? What was the secrecy like? Tell us about growing up. Like, what does it look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, I came across porn in middle school. So I had gotten like an iPod Touch, like those had come out, and I saved up for one and bought that. And I remember like playing, there was like a video game on it. And it was like a mafia game or something. And like in that game, you know, it's like there's like strippers or prostitutes or something. It was like part of the storyline in this game. And that was my first exposure of like, what is this? You know, like just like stumbling across it. And I mean, that pretty quickly like fell into like patterns, just like wanting more of that. So like wanting to just like go further and further down those rabbit holes. And it was something that like I knew was wrong. But it was always hidden. There were times throughout, you know, my timeline when like I remember like a neighbor's kid got caught one time watching porn, like in high school or middle school or something. I remember my parents asking me like, hey, like, have you been exposed to this? And I lied to them. I was like, no, like that's not part of it. And so I think from the beginning, the secrecy and like lying about it and then the shame that comes after that was like always part of it. So I mean, that was, you know, through middle school and high school. And then on that trip when we talked about like telling, you know, my youth pastor, talking with him then, you know, that was like the first time I experienced like having a break from it. And it was like a year, you know, like that summer, my whole senior year of high school of like not like watching porn, not doing that. And then when I got to college and like had some like lonely and like isolating moments, like that became like an old kind of like crutch and comfort and something I like fell back into. So, I mean, yeah, that, and then it just kind of picked back up and was back off to the races, you know, just more and more progressive and, just like being gripped by that. Obviously into our marriage, into 3 years ago.
So tell us about like, you know, I envision younger people that we have like walked out life with and like, dare I say mentor or like, you know, come alongside in their journey. Like you looked like the prime, like attractive, smart, just almost like the perfect like Southern Christian guy going to the University of Alabama. Like you were well-rounded. You played sports. You were in the band. You did something I didn't do, student council. Lord have mercy. You made good grades. Like you looked on the outside like someone that everybody would want to be or be around. And I even remember us dating and people being like, I always wanted my daughter to marry Adam. Like people would say that to me all the time in this area. And so what's that like? Like you are put on a pedestal basically in your spheres that you run in. And then you're going to like a very well-known, I mean, dare I say #1 university, Alabama, and you're lonely. You are gripped by shame. Like, but you look like what the Christian world would say is a great guy. What does that feel like? What is that like?
I mean, it was so much pressure. Like, I remember in high school one time, there was a party going on that I was going to go to, and one of my friends got invited, and his mom called my mom, and to talk about, hey, can we send the boys to this party? Like, is it safe? And, she always said, like, oh, well, if Adam's going, then you know, this guy can go. Because it was like I was the benchmark of like, well, nothing's bad's going to be going on if he's there, you know. And it was a lot of pressure, and I think it really solidified my addiction. Not saying it wouldn't have been solidified without that, but you know, it was that the inside of me never matched what was on the outside. And that was a really hard place to be. And then also feeling like I couldn't talk about that. So it was a lot of pressure for sure.
That makes me emotional because I love you and I know you. So you're in college, you're feeling lonely, addiction kicks back up. All the while you're I know your story, so I'm like trying to ask you like questions and not tell your story for you because part of me wants to be like, and this is Adam's story. But you're like, you date, but abstaining from sex. So like that's also like a weird like dichotomy of like you are following biblical standards and rules.
It's the South, so
but also severely struggling with lust and
addiction,
yeah,
pornography.
yeah, all of it.
Inadequacy. Yeah, totally.
Pride.
Yeah.
Like there's so much sin, but like again, on the outside, you could go to church and say, I'm a virgin. I like am saving myself for marriage. Like I date to marry. Like I want to hit on these points because I want to talk about our story. I want to talk about our moments because I think they're so powerful and I really believe in the work God's done for us. But I do want to sit a second in the like pre me and you situation because I do feel, I mean, we know people, we know stories of men that are our age or older or younger that are still struggling with lust, still struggling. And I'm not saying that in a shame way. No. We all have our struggles. We all fall short of the glory of God every day. However, I want to kind of sit in the moment of, I hope it reaches someone, your story. I mean, I know it will, but specifically, this is our first time on a platform really sharing your story. Yeah. You sharing it and then us sharing our like marital testimony. But like you were it. Like you were like I want to sit in that moment of like you serving two gods depending on the day or the moment. Like wanting your heart wanting to serve the Lord. You are a good man and yet being trapped and enslaved to sin. I want like I'm not even really sure what I'm asking you. I want someone to know that male or female that there's always a place for redemption. Yeah. Like your road is never over with the Lord. Yeah. Do you have anything to say about that? Does that
I mean, a couple things came up. I think one about like you saying, "Hey, I don't want this to come off as like self-righteous or anything like that." Like, and you talked about like you're not struggling with lust. Like, I was reading in a book actually this morning. Like you're free, but you're not cured. Yeah. It's like I'm walking in freedom from this, but it's still right there. Yeah. And this idea of like, no matter how far down the road you get, the ditch is still 3 feet away. Like, have you ever heard that expression? So it's like, it's not like, oh, I just wake up and like, never have to think about this again. Yeah. So it's like by no means that. But yeah, I think your question was more about like, what did it feel like to sit in, what was your exact question?
Like being in, like sitting in, like, I want to serve Jesus. My heart is for the Lord. Like I want to be good and do good. Yeah. And yet I'm wretched, which we all sit in. We all sit in. Yeah. But in an addiction place, being, in your young 20s and teens, like what is it like? Hindsight's 2020. What is it like living in a legalistic faith and then like in a freedom faith? Yeah. Because those things feel very differently.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that goes back to like kind of like my upbringing in the church. Like grew up in Williamson County, grew up going to church in Brentwood. Yeah. Like we live in a culture and in a place in a culture that is very image based. Yeah. It's about who looks the best, who has the nicest house, who has the newest car, who has the newest clothes. Thanks for picking out this shirt, by the way. You're welcome. And that became the reward system. And so then you just naturally translate that to your faith of like, well, if I want to be good, I just have to look good, right? Because then all these other people around me will validate me and tell me that I'm good, so I must be good, right? Yeah. And then at the same time, it's like, well, I have these secret struggles that are very clearly telling me I'm not good. Yeah. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't feel like I have a place to let that out. I don't feel like I can be honest about it because that's not the reward system that we're operating in, where it rewards image, not necessarily honesty. So I want
you to repeat that. It rewards image and not honesty.
Yeah.
And like how backwards that is.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was getting to for me is like, I think something about addiction, and for anyone that's struggling with that, like we're all looking for an answer to a question, and we're all looking for that thing to soothe something inside of us that really was designed for the Lord to do. Mm-hmm. And we're just trying to fill it with something that's not him. And for me, like one of my core questions, I distinctly remember driving down 65 to Columbia to some bakery to pick up a cake for you when we were in the middle of our program, around Christmas in 2022. And I was listening to a podcast about all this and like was just hit with the core question of like, will I be loved if I'm honest? Mm. And that was my biggest fear of hiding all of this, of getting into this program, of really my whole life up to that point was, I don't know if I will be loved if I'm honest, because I had never been. And so I was loved, I was rewarded, I received affirmation for things that were dishonest.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know. And spoiler alert, I found out the answer is yes. I will be loved by God. But the answer is more nuanced than that. The answer is actually not by everybody.
Yeah.
Not everyone will love you if you're honest.
Yeah.
But the Lord will.
Yeah.
The people that are the most meaningful in your life will. And along with that, there's some really painful pruning of figuring out there were people who didn't love me when I was honest. Yeah. And there's still people who don't love me when I'm honest. And that's been the hardest thing to walk out for me, is like getting out of that mindset of like having to be okay with like, I get validation from the Father and everything else is just secondary. Yeah. And that shift was really hard for me to make. Yeah. But I had to get that question answered, in my journey.
I think a lot of people struggle with that because we base our worthiness and our self-confidence on likes on images, on how many viewers we have, on are our parents proud of us? Do we have accolades and accomplishments? And I really think like everybody struggles with that. And it just, depends on your family of origin, depends on your childhood trauma, to what depth that gets taken to. And because if you come from a family of origin that is like, points you back to the cross and Jesus loves you, then that's a different story than the stories that we've experienced or we know, other people have experienced. Yeah. Were you taught about freedom growing up? Like, were you taught like about authority and freedom through the cross? Or was it more, do you feel like it was more like, here's all the things you should do based on the Bible and theology, and God loves you and there's grace, but this is what you should do? Or do you feel like you learned about that, like spiritual warfare, freedom, authority?
Yeah. I mean, like our church, we sang, like classic hymns growing up. And I remember like singing about like God walking with you in the garden, and like there was this idea of intimate relationship with him. Yeah. I never knew how to put any of those things into practice. Yeah. Like I never knew what surrender actually meant. Like I think, I never knew what having your mind being renewed meant and being transformed by that. I never like I knew those things conceptually, but I did not know them practically for my life, my situation. Right. And I think that's one of the biggest bridges I try to help gap for people, like especially men, when I talk with them about porn or whatever that addiction is. It's like, how do I take this idea of like, I know I need God, I know I need surrender, whatever that means. Yeah. Like, how do I put that into a practical step that helps me in this moment and invites God into this moment to do the things for me that, I can't do for myself. So, so I mean, growing up, like, it's like I heard all the words, but I never experienced them. I didn't know how to apply them to my life. Yeah. Yeah,
that's good. I think a lot of people sit in that place. Yeah. I think, if I can speak for us, like our prayer is that churches and mentors and people in leadership start harnessing and teaching the how to, like the gospel and the how to live out the gospel, practically and with authority and freedom in mind, because he paid for it all. Right. It's ours to have.
Yeah. And it's like the things that like sound good on a Sunday, like how do you make them relevant on Tuesday afternoon? Yeah. And like how do you have them in that moment?
Yeah. Well, and how do you, a lot of it, I think, how do you speak to spiritual warfare? How do we speak to things that, loom over our life, that God gave us the authority over, that God gives us peace that surpasses all understanding, that we have access to the kingdom, we have access to the throne room. How do we live that out practically in hard situations and even in mundane situations? So, all right, so you meet me. Best day of your life. I know. Just kidding. Our kids are the best. But them being birthed was the best day. Anyways, not the point. You meet me. You never told me, like about the addiction. Like, I had no idea. Like I remember our first dates, like our first date when we were walking on the bridge and we were both scared to ask one another, like, if you had sex. And being like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, we'll
like,
figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll work through it
it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And both of us asking. And I think we both sighed, like, relief.
Yeah.
Like, oh, phew. We're like, both of us, like, checked that off our list. And neither of us were taught to be like, okay, but what else?
Yeah, exactly. That's just
what else are you searching for? Like, it's not just sex. And I just remember, like our first date, like walking across the bridge and being like, oh, well, at least he's a virgin, not knowing that 8 years later or something we would be separated, and going through addiction. Like, we weren't taught to ask those questions, like, and how to be honest like that, not in wanting to avoid it, but we just didn't know.
Well, also, like, I couldn't have been honest about it at that time. Like, I just couldn't have. And I think that's part of what's hard about reflecting on your story is, like, you'll look back on things with the mindset you have now, the experiences you have now, and the reality is, like, you didn't have this understanding, this relationship with the Lord. I didn't have that then.
And we probably weren't available. Our hearts, like, weren't available to deal with it either. I probably would have run. Or you would have, if I had been like, I really struggle with, like, dating a bunch of guys just so that I feel loved and seen. I think you would have been like, like, that's not becoming. Right. And I think if I had looked at you and said, in the first 5 years of our marriage, I need you to constantly verbally affirm me because I don't know where to get my validation from. Like,
so I was take it to you.
Yes, I was so lost, and I expected so much of you to fill a void that only Jesus could fill. And that wasn't your responsibility. And I think if we had said that, if we had been, like you said, hindsight, if we had said the things we know now then, to us at 21 years old would have been like, bye. Like, I'm not signing up for that. But it was the best sign up of my life, like, to be with you.
I was just going to say, I also don't want to, like, paint the wrong idea of, like, I did things that were sexual with girls.
Oh, yes.
But then it's back to your point about legalism. It's like, well, we never had sex, so, like, I'm good. And it's back to just that line of, like, legalism versus freedom within the confines of love and what God has designed for us. So
we can spend
I just want to throw that out there. I'm not trying to, like, misrepresent anything.
I obviously know. And I love that. I think we should probably have another pod on, like, intimacy and all of those things, because there's so much freedom and so much goodness that God gives us within marriage. And I'm so blessed that there's been redemption over our story. And I am so thankful that with the kind of personality I have and the things that, like, I struggle with, I didn't bring that into our marriage because we have different struggles. And I'm so thankful that you were able to be honest. And that is something that we were honest about when we dated. Like, we knew eyes open going in, like, what each of us had struggled with and done. I mean, I really struggled with alcohol, and that wasn't something you struggled with until...
At the time.
But I did, and that was... Anyways, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Okay, you meet me, and we go to get married. We struggle during engagement. We had a lot of family dynamics going on. We were very young. You were finishing college. Your grandpa was really sick, who ended up being our best man in our wedding. And don't get tears in your eyes. And I remember our last marriage counseling session before we got married. You were honest about watching porn. And I was like, what? And for context, I grew up in a house of just basically girls. My dad traveled for a living. So that wasn't something females talked, like, we didn't talk about that. Like, there were plenty that we talked about in my house growing up, but that isn't something
Wasn't on the radar.
Yeah, no. So I was like shattered by it, like just totally left field. And like just had no idea like what that meant. I had never seen porn. Like I just had no idea. And we had like that moment where our pastors prayed over us. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Like, like having that, what I thought was a watershed moment, but ended up not really being one.
Sure.
Like I think repentance was there, remorse, all the things.
Totally.
However, you know, you go into like what it looked like our first year of marriage. Like into first year of marriage.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, in that moment, and I think there was one other time I know we talked about, and this may have been after that. Anyway, in that moment, you know, I remember being in our pastor's house and confessing that and just weeping and then praying over us. And you have that glimpse of hope of like, oh, this is what I needed. This moment is what I needed.
Yeah, God's going to fix it right now.
Exactly. And if anyone out there struggles with addiction, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like, oh, never again. This is what is going to have fixed it.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, you're back there. Like, how could I have done this again?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that was sort of the other side of the legalistic church culture. And this was never explicitly said, but I think the way I interpreted things in a more charismatic environment was, oh, freedom is in an instant.
Yeah.
And that's true. Freedom in Christ is in an instant.
Yeah.
Freedom from your struggles is very rarely just in an instant. I've been around a lot of people, a lot of men that struggle with this. I haven't met anyone who just said, yeah, God healed this for me in a moment.
Yeah.
And I never struggled again.
Yeah. Which he can.
He can, sure.
However, sanctification is ongoing.
Yeah, he absolutely can. That just wasn't my experience.
Yeah.
So I only have my experience.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
So it felt great to like have that moment, to feel that, but then that didn't mean I all of a sudden knew what to do the next time I was alone and tempted.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that is where the disconnect was. Kind of going back to what I said a minute ago about like wanting to give the practical tips, steps. Here's how you like got into that moment. So it's just as powerful then as it was when you confessed it, you know? So, so that was, engagement. I remember being in Tuscaloosa, talking to you on the phone one time, and I told you again that I had looked at porn.
Yeah.
I remember driving to the parking lot I was sitting in when we had this conversation. Cause like I just was so afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
And then of course, swearing it off again, that would be the last time.
Yeah.
And then of course you think, oh, well, when I get married, we can have sex. So like, I won't need to watch porn.
Yeah.
That's obviously not true.
Yeah.
And so just continuing to think, this is the moment. This is the moment. This is the moment. I'm really done this time. I'm really done this time.
Yeah.
I'm really done this time. Just kind of like a classic addictive experience, of thinking, you can swear it off 1,000 times. It's not starting again is the hard part. So first year of marriage, I mean, I think there definitely was a period after we got married where that was less of a temptation.
Yeah.
And then, you fast forward 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was, and I'm right back in it, hiding that in our marriage now, not just our dating and engagement relationship.
Yeah. And I want to go back really quick. Your mental health was tanked.
Yeah.
Our entire engagement in dating. Like you were in Tuscaloosa, miserable. I remember you calling me at like 2 a.m, like just weeping, like I can't do this anymore. And me being like, do I need to drive to you? Like what do you mean?
Yeah. And there's more around it. Like I had back surgery.
Yeah.
So I was always really active in college, went to the gym all the time, played club sports.
Yeah.
All of a sudden that was gone, pretty much overnight. Was on painkillers, couldn't sleep, was taking things to sleep and then not being able to fall asleep still. So now I'm awake on these things that are supposed to make me be asleep.
Yeah.
It was not good.
It was a perfect storm of like tanked mental health, addiction, the not wanting to be in Tuscaloosa, but needing to be there to finish your degree. And again, and we really do need to have, you probably need to be on here a few times, but just in talking about we were raised totally different in completely different families, us trying to figure out how to do this with the way we were raised in our family, both of our family dynamics, I think just really hit us hard because we loved our families and there was just so much going on. So I want to take a moment for hopefully someone that maybe is struggling with the mental health side of addiction and the loneliness, isolation, you're out of it. And there is a way out. it will not feel like this forever.
Yeah.
And we pray for those people, even though we don't know them by name. Like you are loved and seen. Like those people, like you are loved and seen and known. And so I wanted to say that too. It's not like you were just like going through addiction and we were engaged and it was like really happy times and it was a poop storm.
Sure.
But like on social media, we were so cute.
Of course.
We were.
You can still post for a picture.
Yeah. And put a filter on it.
Yeah.
For more facade. But we were in love. Like we loved each other. We were so excited to get married. And yet there was this like storm just brewing.
Yeah.
So we're like in the first year of marriage. You fall back in addiction. Do you want to tell more about that first year of marriage?
Was there something specifically you had in mind?
Like, I don't know, being in Louisville or like the temptation that came, like now you are the man, like you're married, and the temptation of now like cheating comes in. We're going past porn. Like, what's that like?
Yeah. I mean, my experience with pornography was definitely progressive. And then at some point that goes to like real people. Right. And yeah, I remember I was training for a bank I was working for. I had a rental car going out of town for training. I rented a Cadillac, brand new Cadillac. So yeah, it's like I'm 22 years old, driving a car I could never afford.
Yeah.
Staying at a hotel I could never afford.
Yeah.
Like, and that just feeds my image, right? My ego. This whole thing has been more about image, about keeping up the outside appearance, right? And so this just strengthens that of, well, what do you do in that scenario? Well, then, along with being young and successful and appearing to do these things that are good, well, then of course you like go for women too, right?
Yeah. When you're drinking.
Yeah, alcohol is mixed in at this point. And that's a good point too. Of like, I would say in our first year of marriage, that's where I also started turning to alcohol.
Yeah.
To really cope with those feelings of shame and guilt. And that was just like a downward spiral of those two things together.
Yeah.
Watching porn, feeling bad about it, drinking to try to make up for that, being more anxious from drinking, not knowing how to do anything with that anxiety. So you go back to porn.
Yeah.
Just a horrible, horrible mix. So, so then, there was a night where I was out at a bar and talked to a woman that I had met there actually the night before, and just came really, really close and like walked up to that line. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I already forgive you.
I mean, I just walked up right up to that line.
Yeah.
And it scared me.
Yeah.
It scared me really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at that point, we started to not go to church regularly. Like I think we like kind of burnt out in some areas there, and we were both drinking too much. I didn't realize that I was drinking to like numb anxiety and pain. I thought I was just like having a good time and we're young and married. And then later in therapy, they were like, no, that's like, you're doing that to escape your feelings. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. But at that time, so we're stepping out of church and going to church regularly. So that pulls us out of faith-filled community, which is a huge part of our recovery and redemption story. And so we lose that covering. Now we're married, so we lost the covering of our parents of, pointing us back to the cross or helping us in our, times of struggle or even noticing, like if we lived at home, our parents would be like, you all right? Like, yeah. And so we're like in our own covering, stepping out of church and drinking too much. And in my perspective, which you can correct me, like, I feel like we went down this spiral of kind of like escapism. Like we loved the Lord so much and we wanted relationship with him, and we both were trying to escape our own demons. And then we were married and trying to build our foundation. In my episode, like about my testimony, I say like, we didn't build our house just on sand. Like it was like, it felt like we built like a square of concrete, like of good, sound, like theology and relationship with Jesus. And we like built a pillar on that. But then our next pillar we built on sand because we both had really hard stuff that was undealt with. Yeah. And so I would say, so our first year of marriage, you really struggled. You started breaking out into hives just randomly. We thought it was related to alcohol, which it probably is. Like you probably have some type of allergy as well. Yeah. But you would just randomly like break out into hives. We couldn't figure out, like, was it dark liquor? Was it wine? We didn't know. And so you would just like randomly break out in hives. You would take like 2 Benadryl, and it was just so weird. Yeah. And then I remember like the next 5 years go by, right? When did all this happen?
2022.
No, I'm going to 2020. In 2020, we buy a house, as most young married people do. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I had started a salon. I had built a business and then had it shut down. We had a lot of things going on. Yeah. And we buy a house, and I remember you coming home one day and saying, I don't know if I want, you said, I don't know if I want to be married. It's not that I want to be married to somebody else. Yeah. I don't want to be married at all. Do you want to talk about, like, from your perspective, like what was that like? What was going on? Like, yeah. I don't think that's uncommon for young men who get married young, save themselves, do all the things. Like, we had checked all the boxes. Yeah. And to be fair, I was like, okay, we've been married 5 years. I'm ready to have a baby. Like, we've bought a house. I'm ready. Let's start trying. Yeah. We were in seasons with friends where they were starting their families. Yeah. So and then you come home and you're like, I don't want to be married. And I'm like, we have a mortgage. Like, what? Yeah. And what's that like?
Yeah. 2 quick things that you said along the way I want to hit on real quick. You're talking about us like fighting our demons in our marriage. I tried to fight mine in the dark. Horrible strategy. It's like I was trying to hide what I was fighting. The second thing, you talked about like me having to take Benadryl because I have these rashes I would have. So when I would drink certain times, get really flush. If you're consuming something and you have to take medicine to counteract that thing, and then you can't stop consuming that thing, just look into that. Yep. You know, like that's
heart check.
That's a warning sign there.
Yeah. We didn't know that then. We're not saying that from a high horse. No, we're saying learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to get into 2020 about coming home and I was working in sales for a technology startup in Nashville. Have raised a bunch of money. Again, it was on that hype train. Like, we raised all this money. I was doing well there. Looked like there's a long runway in front of me, and it's back to that. Externally, like, what are the things that I'm desiring most? Yeah. I'm desiring the image still. I'm desiring career progression, success, money, the freedom to do whatever you want, Yeah.
And you were hanging out with single people.
Yeah.
That's who worked there. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
That's not a slide as a hate on them. It was just, that was the sales team.
Who I compared my life to. Yeah. And so I think that's, going back to like, you have to figure out like, what is it that I want? And I never knew how to know what I wanted.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing to want was what everybody else wanted.
Yeah.
And that was the things that the people I was around, that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I guess I should want that too.
Yeah.
And just jumping ahead a little bit, like that was even a really hard part of, getting sober, stopping addiction, really fighting addiction. It's like, how do I even know what I want?
Yeah.
Because I've never tried to live that way or think about that. It's just been, well, what's going to work the best? So,
yeah.
But yeah, so that's, I think that's how I ended up in that spot. I think the baby thing too, of like, I think I realized like what a big deal that is.
Yeah, totally.
Like, having a child.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't like prepared for that. Cause like obviously all this is going on in the background. You don't know any of these things about me. Yeah. But my internal struggle was like, can I say?
No.
Oh, I'm a poop show.
Yeah.
Like I don't have my life together.
Yeah.
Like there's all
and I had no idea. So right. I'm like, why? I'm like, you're rejecting me.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't.
You're like, I'm rejecting myself.
Yeah. And the only way I know how to verbalize that is to reject you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a moment for like married couples. Like sometimes rejection, what feels like rejection of you is actually them rejecting themselves.
Yeah.
And hurt people hurt people. So, you know, you were hurting so badly, all you knew what to do was to hurt me.
Yeah.
And I'm not free and clear in this situation. Like, you know, again, I'm still abusing alcohol. Like, I'm loving my career, loving that I have built this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm finding identity in other areas. Like,
Sure.
there is so much like sin here on both sides that is not like I'm not a victim, is what I'm saying. Like, so we get through 2020. We have. Shockingly, that startup goes under because of the old pandemic, and we come back together. You go get baptized at my family's ranch in Texas. I'm thinking like everything is great. We're on our road to recovery and greatness. Like he's come to Jesus. He's gonna have freedom. All the things.
Yeah.
And we don't.
Yeah.
You come home kind of resenting me, still wanting that freedom. And I feel like we kind of struggled in that for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I remember that trip, and it honestly, like, it was a good trip. And
Yeah.
but I also know, like, looking back on that, it was just one more moment of me looking for something to fix me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It was just one more thing of saying, like, oh, confessing in marriage counseling will fix me. Nope. Getting married will fix me. Nope. Like, oh, I need to get baptized, you know, in private, you know,
Yeah.
not as a testimony and a declaration of my faith publicly, but just so I could, maybe this will fix me,
Yeah.
you know?
And you could tell me.
Yes, I could
did
tell
do
you.
this.
Yeah, because I grew up in a church that didn't baptize by
Yeah.
submersion, and so I remember that was always an argument we had of you being like, "Oh, you haven't really been baptized. I got sprinkled."
Sorry about that.
So yeah, that was something that I could finally say, "Well, I got baptized," you know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't from the heart posture that we're called to do those things in.
Yeah. Well, we work it out, kind of. On the surface, we worked it out. Our best friends bring a baby home. I'm like, I really want a baby.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a few months, you turn the corner and you're like, okay, I'm ready to like start trying to have a baby. It takes us a few months to get pregnant. Not long, but a few months. And I remember you were so supportive. Like you were so kind through it. I felt so disappointed. Like I was going to be late to having kids. I was 28 years old or 27. And we get pregnant with Amelia. We have our sweet girl, emergency C-section. And she gets home our first night home. Our first night home alone. Like our parent, all the parents are gone and she stops breathing. And we think she's like dying or died of SIDS. And I know now, but you ended up calling our brother and saying you felt like it was your fault.
Yeah. So I think God's punishing me.
Yeah, because you had fallen back in addiction.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Never fell out of it.
Oh, yeah. And that is like something that I don't think people realize. Like addiction doesn't just mean you do something every single day. Like it can look like 6 months not, 3 months not, 3 weeks not. It's not like linear and yes and no and I don't know, black and white. Like it looks different for everybody. And so do you want to talk about like what that night felt like? Like I was in the ambulance with Amelia, you're driving behind us, you call our brother, and what did that feel like? Like where did you ask like, God, where are you? What's going on?
I don't think I asked that.
Yeah.
I think it was more of just like, well, this must be punishment for me. Like I'm doing something I know I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm lying about it, like living, I have the secret life still. And yeah, I mean, it felt like, oh, okay, now this is starting to have consequences for other people. And I felt like God was punishing me. And I don't think that he was. To be clear, addiction does have consequences for other people.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that's what was happening.
Yeah, totally. And I fall into like depression from all the trauma. The C-section was really hard for me. Then she doesn't breathe. Our dog gets shot, like all in the span of like 3.5 weeks or something like that. I'm like, this is like a movie.
It's
like
gonna be such a redneck plot twist.
Yes.
For everybody that's listening.
Stay tuned for part 2. Like, so that was a riot, like that 5 weeks. So I just tank into depression and anxiety. I mean, and then you're having anxiety. Like you're at night being like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like the shame and it is really like coming to a head. But I have no idea. I'm like, you need to go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't either. I need help. But you wouldn't go to a doctor. And so we were in kind of this like push-pull of like, I was not doing well. And working, being a new mom, struggling with the postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. Just my mind was tormented that season of life. And we're in September of 2022, and I have a dream one night that the Lord specifically gave me. And I wake up the next morning and I'm like, we remember the story differently. And I think it's because it's probably both of our, like one of our most traumatic moments of our life. I remember coming out and saying, I had a dream and something's not right. Like you're lying to me. Or I said, you need to tell me something. Like God has told me something. Now you need to tell me something. How do you remember that day?
Yeah. I mean, I remember you came out, and you were like, hey, I had a dream that you cheated on me. Like, do you need to say anything? Like, do you need to tell me anything? I'm like, no, just a dream.
Yeah.
You know, like not at all. And just kind of like explained it away. And there have been times in our marriage where you could ask me if I'd looked at porn and I'd said no and lied to you or dismissed it or redirected or something.
Yeah. Well, I want to sit in that for a second too, because there was a lot, because I knew of your porn situation, I didn't even know it was an addiction. I thought it was just like a struggle.
Yeah.
Like I would ask.
That's the Christian word. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. I asked like through our marriage because they told me to. Like our pastors were like, just check in, ask. Yeah. He has covenant eyes on his phone. Yeah. It won't ever come up. That's a load of garbage. I mean, I think the intention is right.
The intention's right.
But people can get around it like so easily. And so I do, like I asked you our entire marriage. I would randomly ask you like, what are you doing this? Or are you struggling with this? Or even being out in public. I remember a couple times being at dinner and being like, do you check people out? Like, do you struggle with, and I didn't know the word to say lust, but I would try to explain that. And you gaslit the fire out of me. Yeah. Like you were, and you say this too, like you were so good at lying to yourself. It was easy to lie to me. Like, because you lied to yourself first. And so we get to this like dream, and like it's totally like the Instagram meme of like, oh, my wife is making me pay for the dream version of me. And like people make a joke about it, like, oh, my husband cheated on me with blah 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 in my dream last night. And it's funny. It is funny. So there was a way to kind of play this off and be like, babe, come on, like. And I just knew like, and then I struggled because I knew in my spirit it was a godly dream. I have dreams. I feel like the Lord speaks to me in dreams. So I dream all the time. It's not uncommon for me to be like, I had the weirdest dream last night. Yeah. But I know the difference between having like a God encounter dream and just like a weird random dream. And there was something that stuck with me in that dream. And I didn't let it go that day. But I was also in postpartum depression, struggling. You were phenomenal at, like you said, redirecting and kind of like easing my anxiety and being like, no, it's not, it's fine. Yeah. And so we go to dinner with my aunt and uncle who are in town from Texas. And you go ahead, you're telling Uncle Will about your hives.
We went to the factory. Yeah, your uncle's a doctor. And so as you said, like I've been having physical symptoms up to this point. So a lot of anxiety, panic feelings in my chest. And one of the biggest things was spontaneous hives. Like I would just break out into hives. And I did do a consultation with my doctor about it. And this was COVID-ish era, and he was like, "Oh, that's a symptom. Sometimes people for months after they have COVID will break out into hives, right. And oh, it must be that." Got on some sort of blocker for it, and anyway, so that had been pretty recent that I'd talked to him. So I was talking to your uncle, who's a doctor, And we were sitting in the factory in Franklin in those chairs talking, and I was like, "Yeah, Uncle, can I ask you a medical question?" Like, and I explained to him the rashes I've been having, and he just looks at me and he goes, "This is gonna sound crazy. The last 2 men I've treated for that were both cheating on their wives," and then he just moved on.
Yeah, he doesn't even remember saying that.
Doesn't even remember saying that.
I'm deceased, sitting in the chair across.
Yeah, and all of the blood just rushes to my feet.
Oh,
You
were as white as your shoes.
Yeah, and we had driven separately to that, and so I remember calling you, coming up Cool Springs Boulevard. I was driving behind you, and I remember calling you like, "Hey, I got to tell you, like, this is what's going on."
Well, when we separated, I took Amelia and I said, I'm getting in the car, putting our kid in a car seat, and I'm like, there's something you need to tell me, and you better figure it out. I mean, I'm not saying I was like just the pinnacle of Christian wives in this situation. I'm like, you need to figure it out and tell me. And so then you give me this phone call of, I need to tell you something.
Yeah, and so I just told you, like, hey, I'm struggling with this, and like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that kind of started the waterfall of a process that we went through over the next few months.
Yeah. And those were like some of the worst months of my life. Yeah. Like, I remember both of us calling our like best friends at that time and processing with them, just like so unfair to them, like our unfiltered, like sporadic process of what is happening. Yeah. I left that night. I took Amelia. We went and stayed at my family's house. It was like I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I felt like just all the lying, and then obviously that triggered so much of my childhood wounds. Sure. Not being wanted, being rejected, being lied to, the mental abuse of feeling like it's my fault, like just all of these things, just our spool unraveled. Mm-hmm. And
which I think it's pretty rare to have that process walked out perfectly, or nobody knows what to do.
Totally.
In that situation.
I want to be fair to those people. Yeah. Like, that was so messy.
Yeah.
But we walk out the process of disclosure. Yeah. And so we did a program that our therapists had recommended to us on betrayal trauma. Yeah. Which I literally send people, our counselor in the program. Yeah, anybody that's like, I struggle with any remotely near it, I'm like, you need to call Kim. She's the best. Yeah. And this program is the best. Yeah. So they call it leaky disclosure. What we went through is where every couple weeks something new would come out. Yeah. Like, we would start to get good. And
I also did this.
And you would be like, and by the way. Yeah. And I remember like selling all of our furniture because like I was just like, I can't look at the things that like were in the room when everything starts to fall apart. And so leaky disclosure just keeps coming out. And we get to a point where you leaked new information, and I tapped out. Like, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to the beach. Like, I'm calling Susu. Like, I got to get out of here. Yeah. And Susu is our grandma. That's not really our grandma, but she pretends.
Well, she's our grandma.
She's our grandma. Yeah. And I'm like, Susu, is there any way I can stay at your beach house? Like, I can't think straight. I'm sick. I can't eat. I don't know what to do. And I had called a divorce lawyer at this point, and I was like, I'm getting ready to file. What does this look like? What's the cost? And so we drive down. I let you drive me down to the beach because I'm still struggling postpartum, and I'm scared somebody's going to take me and my baby. And so I'm like, you can drive us down to the beach, but then you have to leave. Like, this is literally just a safety thing. My parents are going to meet me there, but like, you can drive me down there. I cannot be in Nashville anymore. And we're on the beach. We get there, we go to the beach. I'm like, Amelia's not really been to the beach since she's like a real person now, not a potato. Yeah, like, she's sitting up, crawling, all the things. No, she wasn't crawling yet. Not the point. And I'm like, I'm done. And we're at that beach access. How are you doing then? Like, what does that feel like? You're coming out of addiction, brain's getting less foggy. What's going on with you in that moment?
Yeah. I remember being on that beach and like playing with her and just kind of being like, oh, like, these are like the moments like I always wanted. Yeah. And just seeing that was at risk, to put it lightly, because of me. Like that's really hard. And then also I remember hoping that like in that moment you would be like, look how great this is. You know, we're a family on the beach and there's hope for us. I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah.
I remember wanting that to happen in that moment. Yeah.
What did it feel like for your like wife to like have your ultimate fear? Like you were honest and I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah. You know, I think coming back from that trip, it's like you said, like it was my ultimate fear of like I was honest and I'm not going to be loved because of it. And I remember coming back and really feeling like it was going to be over. And I get back home that night. It was pretty late at night. Let our dog out. I go into our dining room, just lay on the floor, and just like curl up in the fetal position, just saying the word no, like over and over again, just sobbing. Like it's the only thing I could get out. Just no, no, no. And somehow our dog got back in and licked me in the face. And it was literally like the hand of God in that moment, like pulling me out of that. It's the depth of despair that I've ever been in. And in that moment, like the Lord did meet me.
Yeah.
And I think that's when that question started to get answered of like, God will love me. God will be here for me.
Yeah.
Even if nothing else is, even if I don't have a wife anymore, even if my future is jeopardized with my daughter.
Yeah.
That like God still met me in that. Yeah, like it was in that moment, like everything else was stripped away.
Yeah.
And that was so painful. And it's also like, it was so necessary.
Yeah.
For me to know God in that way.
Yeah. We finished our program, we went through it. But all the while in the program, like I was making like a parenting calendar on days you could have her. And I was hell bent on, you're not going to take my kid from me. You've already drugged me through all this. You're not. And you were so gracious to me in those moments. Like, yes, you had hurt me and we had yuck, but like you were so kind to me. We went through our disclosure day. We did all the things that we needed to do to heal. And I remember being like, after the program, like, I just don't know. We're doing what our therapist called an in-home separation, where you were not near me when we were home, but we had so much responsibility on our farm and with a baby. And I had a business, and I was rocking Amelia one night, and the song, I feel like every time I'm in a new season, the Lord like gives me a song, and that's just like the worship song that's on my heart. And that season, it was Firm Foundation. And I would just recall all the times God encountered me as a kid in middle school and high school. And then even as adults, like God was so kind to me to still love me and encounter me, although my mistakes and abusing alcohol and all the things that we were, being distracted by. And anyways, that was my song, and singing like Firm Foundation and remembering the foundation that like me and God built together. And I was rocking Amelia and I'm singing that song, and she's asleep, and I just remember the Lord speaking in my heart and saying, if you honor me in this big thing, I will honor you in the little things. Like, it's not over yet. Like, you are meant to be with Adam. And I laid Amelia down and I came and found you, and I was like, I'm not done, and I want to be with you. I'll walk this out with you. And I love you. Is that how you remember me coming out and telling you that?
Yeah.
And we both cried. And we set boundaries in place.
It's not like you're just like, you're forgiven.
No, we still had so much healing to walk out. Like, I just remember even like going into Target and me being like, if you look at a female, I will punch you in the face. Like, everything was so triggering. Everything was so traumatizing. And I was like, oh my gosh, we had done like, there's so many parts of the program. Like, we really should like share about that one day, because it's such a good program, and so many couples despite the severity or not severity of their story, like it's a great program. And we were separated. We were not having intimacy. Mm-hmm. And then we start having intimacy and we get pregnant with our son. Yeah. Straight away. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, I'm trapped. Like I'm stuck. Yeah. Like what if he relapses? What is about to happen here? And I think God's so faithful to us. We weren't ready to have a son. Like I feel like God's grace over us is Amelia. She is the joy of our life. She's our sunshine. There's nobody like her. And we weren't ready to steward a son. Yeah. And then we get pregnant with John Shepherd. And he's the best, but we feel the weight of that. Yeah. Of like, we are breaking off generational curses. Like we are living differently for our family. Sure. Do you want to say something?
No, keep going.
And like, our story, we just like keep walking out our story of healing. And it was so messy. It was not linear. Right. We had lots of endings. We had lots of goodbyes. We're not best friends with the people we were best friends with. Our social circle is completely different. I don't own a business. Well, I own a business, but I don't own a storefront. I don't have employees. I don't own that business anymore. You work a different job. We sold our house. We've been so imperfect and yet so desperate for the presence of Jesus in our healing. And so now we're here. What does it look like for you, like as a man of God? What are we, 3 years out?
In November, yeah.
Almost 3 years out. What does it look like to be a radical disciple for Jesus post-addiction?
I don't know. Well, I guess first I was going to say, I don't know if I would say it's post-addiction. I'd say it's like post, like understanding what my addiction is. Yeah. And knowing how to walk in that daily. I think that's just so important to communicate. Like for me, is like, because again, the lie is like, one day I'll wake up and just won't have this struggle or this issue. And like, don't get me wrong, it's way easier now. Yeah. 3 years down the road. Yeah. But it's not like, this is never a concern for me again. I don't want to give that perception.
Well, you have to die to your pride. All that I've overcome this. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not me. I didn't overcome it at all. Yeah. Yeah. It was recognizing that I couldn't overcome it is what actually set me free from it. Yeah. And then I also want to say, like, you're talking about like, what does it look like to be a radical disciple? Like, I think one of the hardest parts about this is like walking out that process of like what you just described from November 2022 to today. Like, there's a lot of people that have gotten hurt in that process. Yeah. And being honest with myself about the fact that like what I did and what I walked through, like understanding it starting when I'm 11 doesn't excuse the fact that I really hurt a lot of people at 27 when I had to walk out that healing process. Yeah. So, I mean, what it looks like being a radical disciple now, I mean, I think is more about just like not fearing the truth anymore. And I think it's about actually seeking out that truth and being able to deal with reality. Yeah. Like addiction was always an escape from reality. Yeah. And the way through that for me has been actually just learning what reality is and how to deal with that. Mm-hmm. And there's so much freedom in that. Yeah. I'll talk about this with anybody at any time. Yeah. I don't have anything to hide. Yeah. And that just feels so freeing. Yeah. I was thinking about, I think we talked about this after church on Sunday, like during worship, I just felt the Lord put on my heart that like, we as a culture think that freedom is not following anything. Yeah. But in reality, freedom is just following the right thing. Yeah. And I'm really, really grateful to have found what that right thing is and to be able to walk in freedom because of that, because I am submitted, because I am surrendered, because my life is not my own, is actually the most freeing thing that there is.
Yeah. I love that. I'm so proud of you. I do want to celebrate you. How many days or how many months are you sober?
Yeah, November. Well, do you want to talk about the dates? I mean, we can go into all the exact dates, but November of 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're almost 3 years
Yeah,
into
almost 3 years.
sobriety.
Yeah.
And I'm so honored to be your wife and so honored to be a part of your story.
Thanks.
And I love you endlessly, and you are my very, very best friend, and you make me a better believer. Like we are equally yoked. Like we are on mission for the gospel and for Jesus. And I love linking arms with you and letting you lead for the first time in our marriage. The last 3 years, you have truly led us and been our covering and been who God called you to be. And it's so, so beautiful to see.
Thank you for walking it out with me. I mean, like I don't feel like I deserved the second chance, the third chance, the fourth chance, whatever chance I was on when you gave it to me. So thank you. I mean, I think that is like one thing we got right. Like we talked about getting married young and having to even work through that with our families of like, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my dad one time being like, we're different in a lot of ways, you and me, but like we both love Jesus and that's what we want to build our life on. And so I have to just trust that like that's enough.
Yeah.
And it is, and it was.
Yeah.
So it certainly hasn't been perfect. It's been very messy. But that foundation has been what's kept us going, even if we didn't know how to find that foundation at times.
Or one of us tried to leave, because there were a couple times we both tried to say bye. Well, my last question for you is, where's God in the middle of your story? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. I think right now, like I'm in a phase of, like it was so freeing and is so freeing and empowering to like get into addiction recovery and understand what it actually is that I'm wrestling with, and then grow in boldness of I'm seeing progress and all these things. Like I'm actually living the life and can be the person I want to be. I feel like I truly can be who God made me to be.
Yeah.
And then now I'm entering that phase of like, oh, who has God made me to be?
Yeah.
And looking for like a really specific answer to that question.
Yeah.
I think that's what would say I'm really like in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great. Like, where do I take this? You know? And I think that the simple answer is just continuing to like share the light that we've been given, to talk about it, be open about it. I'm also still wrestling with the word of like, is there something more specific? Like, vocationally, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So, I'd say that's the story I'm in the middle of. I don't know that I answered your question about where is God in the middle.
Where's God meeting you in that?
Honestly, he and I are like wrestling a lot right now
Yeah.
with the answers to those questions.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was up last night praying through and journaling through and reading scripture through and just being directed to different passages in and looking at specific verses that the Lord was putting on my heart. And I know that he's with me in it. Like, I know he'll walk it out with me.
Yeah.
I guess that's the hard part about like being in the middle, right? You can't look back and say, here's the exact answer.
Yeah. But we're walking by faith.
Yeah, but we're in it.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
You're my best friend.
Mine.